What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we are doing a review of the F1 2019 game. Yes, I realize that I'm doing this literally 2 months late, but it's better late than never. So let's get stuck in. I'm going to talk about all the elements of the F1 2019 game with pretty much every review you would have seen, or if you've seen any up until this point. Literally none of them talked about multiplayer, but now I feel like I have enough experience with, I don't know, all facets of the game. I've got over 100 hours on PC, maybe the best part of 20 or 30 on Xbox. I've done 2 seasons of career mode, so when it comes to this game, I know what I'm talking about. So let's get stuck in and we'll talk about this game in great detail. So I'm going to start off with the things that I like, because I feel like we as a community, we don't talk about the things that we like all too much. It gets overlooked, and I feel like we always focus on the negatives. So I'm going to start off with the things that Codemasters did right this time. So let's start off with career mode. F2 was a brilliant addition to the F1 2019 game. Being able to start off in an F2 team and earn your way into Formula 1 was a really immersive experience to be chucked into at the beginning of the game. Being introduced to characters like Devin Butler and Lucas Weber, creating 2, rivals in Junior Formula, which you then get promoted into F1 with. Driver transfers are now a thing in the F1 game. So Lewis Hamilton, for example, can go to Ferrari, Max Verstappen can go to Mercedes, Sebastian Vettel can go back to Red Bull, and like people like Robert Kubica could go to Ferrari. It's anyone can go anywhere. It's off limits, and so it's off limits. There's no limits. It is absolutely crazy. So that'll keep me interested for a very long time in the single player. The AI's aggression are very good. They feel so much more realistic than what they did in previous games. They'll go for lunges. They'll break the slipstream. They'll try and defend here and there. And overall, they're a lot more aggressive. Not only on myself, but on each other, which is awesome. As well with the AI and career mode, the upgrade paths that they take and how much they upgrade their cars is really good this year. I feel like they got the perfect balance. Like some teams don't upgrade very much, and others, upgrade at a ridiculously rapid rate. It's quite random, and I really do enjoy that. Theater mode is a welcomed addition to this year's game. So basically, you have this highlights feature for any race that you do on the F1 game, whether it be online, single player. You go back to theater mode in the tab on the main menu, and you can watch back some of the highlights of your previous races. You can get thumbnails, and overall, it really helps with content creation, which I really appreciate. Graphics this year are wonderful, especially if you're on the PC side of the game. So bear in mind, this review is coming from mainly a PC side, but I also have some experience with my Xbox One X. Night weather racing and wet weather racing, the graphics are absolutely sublime. Head and shoulders above anything that Codemasters has produced in the past, which is awesome. And speaking of graphics, the game is just so well optimized for PC. It's crazy how the graphics have improved tenfold in some areas, but the game is a lot more stable. There's a less, screen freezes. Almost non-existent if you're on DX12. DX11, I still get them sometimes, but I've been having some issues with my PC. I shouldn't have shipped it from Australia to the UK. I think that's my problem. But anyway, and the handling is much better in this year's game. They did away with the weight distribution, so the ballast. So the cars are a lot less slidey. Setups are a lot more realistic in the way that you set up the car and you achieve lap time. And the same token as well as how you drive the car. You can't, slide it in like a go-kart. You have to drive it a lot more realistically, and that has a big impact on not only competitive racing, but F1 esports, and I feel like all those competitions will be a whole lot better for it. That is all my positives that I have about the game. I'm sure there's more, and if there is, I'll put them down in the description or down in the comments. But let's move on to the things that I feel like Codemasters could have done a bit better with this year's game. Of course, no game is perfect, and so we're going to get into some of those details that not only I have mentioned, but you guys as well on Twitter. I asked for some advice to just really jog my memory, and we'll talk about some of those details now. So On the topic of career mode, there needs to be more cutscenes when it comes to the F2 drivers. Like we had, really good immersion and really good interaction with those two guys like Devin Butler and Lucas Weber in F2. But as soon as we progressed into F1, the whole story mode was just chucked in the bin. Like there was literally nothing after that. It was like a regular career mode after that. And even though I, won the championship in career mode, there was nothing. There was no congratulations from either, Lucas Weber or Devin Butler. There was nothing. It was just like it was in previous years, which I feel like it's a massive letdown. I feel like there needs to be something extra once you get into, F1, at least like half a season or even a full season into the career mode, like saying just an update from either of those two drivers to see like, how things are going. If there's a driver move, like if Devin is going from like a lower team to a higher team, he comes and rubs it in your face or something like that, just to keep us going a little bit more. Because I feel like that was awesome. There was heaps of motivation for me to beat Devin Butler, and also having Lucas there for support was really cool. But they did away with that in F1. That was really, really a bit of a letdown. Other things that people said was that the F2 experience in career mode was very, very short. There was only 3 scenarios, or 3 races, if you will. I actually liked that. But there was a lot of people who said that experience was too short. So if they're going to do story mode again, or F2 again, they'll need to make it longer to appease those people. But for me personally, I think the distance that it was at was fine. Other things, the AI, even though they were nice and aggressive this year, they were far from consistent. It's actually a really big problem for me in career mode. I go from one circuit to another, and sometimes I could be running like 108 or 110, but others I have to bump the difficulty down by like 10% to like 103 or something. Like it's ridiculous. The AI's pace from track to track needs to be rebalanced, and just tweaked a little bit, because I feel like there was a lack of testing with the AI in career mode this year. It's just that their times are way off. And, at the start of the game, the AI were ridiculously easy to beat in the wet, but now they've patched it, and the AI are ridiculously hard to beat in the rain. So Codemasters can't really get the balance right when it comes to the AI in changeable conditions. But in the dry, it seems to be a bit better, but from track to track, it needs to be better. On the topic of AI in career mode, they also become harder to beat the more you progress into career mode. So the more upgrades you put on your car, and the more upgrades other people put on their cars, the AI get harder and harder to beat, which is fine to a degree, but I'm getting to the point where I'm having to run like 105 difficulty at most. It's actually quite ridiculous, whereas at the start of the game, I was running 110, but now running 110 is just impossible. So there's something that's a little bit amiss there, which might need to be fixed up a little bit. When you start the race, the AI are also absolutely ridiculous. You cannot beat them, no matter how good of a start you get, even on 0% AI. In a challenge video I did yesterday, I initially didn't get a better start than those guys. So there is a serious problem with the AI's traction. I feel like traction is the problem. It's the root of everything when it comes to the AI. They're really fast out of slow speed corners, and it's just the way that the AI work. They need traction control in order to stay on the circuit, but I feel like they've got too much traction and just too much of a stranglehold over the player who really struggles, from a standing start or a slow speed getaway. It's hard to compete with the AI in those areas of the track. Other things, the safety car literally never comes out. I've done 42 races of career mode, and I have not seen a full course caution once. Other people see a safety car every single race, so there is something that is definitely amiss with the occurrence of the safety cars. Definitely needs to be balanced. Invitational events are absolutely pointless. I have never done a single one in career mode. It's the things that you do in between a race weekend in order to improve your reputation with the team. I feel like, even reputation doesn't really matter too much. It may help you get better standings within your contract, but overall, I don't really feel like it matters too much as long as you're winning races or doing well within your team. Who bloody cares what your team thinks of you or what any other team thinks of you? Because if you're good enough and you meet the contract worth to the team, you will get signed. It doesn't matter if they absolutely hate you, they will still sign you no matter what. But anyway, other things that I, was let down by was the Senna and Prost DLC. If you paid extra to get the game 3 days early and get the Senna and Prost Legends Edition version of the game. I can't help but feel like that was a bit of a waste of money. The whole game mode there was, I don't know, I really didn't like it. It was just more invitational events, but in its own dedicated game mode. I don't know what I was expecting coming into this, but I was expecting more. I was hoping to have like an actual in-race battle with like a full field of cars, as opposed to just doing like a time attack challenge or overtake challenge. I literally thought we were gonna have like specific moments within, you know, their racing careers or racing rivalries, and it was gonna be a bit more special than what it was. I was let down by that. However, I did like that we were able to race as Ayrton Senna, you know, within the game, and have his avatar in there, and have like Ayrton Senna and Alan Prost, you know, customizable options in online and stuff like that. That was really cool, but the game mode itself was a massive letdown. Failures in career mode failed to be a thing, at least for the player. I feel like, again, Codemasters could do with making the game a little bit more difficult, and at least give us the option to turn on failures for the player, so that if our engine or our gearbox gets, you know, too worn, it can just randomly go at a point. Because at the moment, on average, at least every driver in the field will retire once or maybe even twice over the course of a season, and at the moment the player, as long as they avoid 100% wear on a component, they will avoid DNFing in a race. So I feel like that needs to be fixed up, because at the moment it can be a little bit too easy to maybe beat the AI over the course of a championship, even though I really struggled to beat them. But I feel like we could probably do with having maybe one failure a season at least. That's just my opinion. And as well, with career mode, just to finish off, one more thing we could possibly add is a pre-season event or pre-season testing to, you know, give us a chance to earn more resource points. So at the end of the season, you'll get given, say, 2,000 end of season resource points. If we don't get that bonus at the end of the season, we then progress to the next season. In between, we have this pre-season event where we do, I don't know, some kind of practice program or programs, or do some kind of event where we have to earn those resource points. Sometimes we could earn more, sometimes we could earn less, depending on, you know, how much we do. And it's especially handy when you move to a different team. I have, spoiler alert, moved to a different team in career mode, and unfortunately the resource point bonus that team got given is not allowed to be spent until after I get to the Australian Grand Prix. So I'm heading to the next season with a brand new car, but I'm not able to spend all of these upgrades because I've arrived at this new team at the start of a new season, and I have to wait until races 2, 3, 4 to actually put these new upgrades on. It makes absolutely no sense. So we need a pre-season event, or at least a time before the season starts, in order to apply these upgrades and then go from there. Because at the moment, when you switch teams, that is a little bit silly. But that is all the negatives, at least when it comes to the single player experience. We're now going to talk about online now, and to be honest, there's actually not too much to talk about with online, because for the first time in F1 gaming history, at least since F1 2010, the netcode is actually really good. There's literally nothing to talk about. The only thing I would suggest to improve the online is in ranked game modes, being able to turn on ghosting permanently for lap cars. Because you're trying to race seriously. I feel like if some idiot just wants to take you out, they will do so, and there's no consequence. They either need to get banned, or we need to ghost anyone who has any bad intentions of waiting up for people. And that could extend to the weekly events as well, because there are some absolutely slow plebs who get in the way and can ruin your whole weekly event run, which is annoying. On the topic of ranked as well, I feel like the ELO points need to be adjusted. You can gain so little but lose so much in one race. That needs to be looked at. Customization was a wonderful addition to this year's game, but I feel like they need to build upon that further in next year's game. Maybe add, you know, helmet sponsors, add sponsors for the driver suits. We at least need to be able to change the color of the gloves, or I don't know, the driver suits were a bit of a letdown. They all looked a bit a bit yucky, to be honest. So we need more designs. We need to be able to design our own helmets and driver suits, gloves, whatever else. And I feel like that'd be another good step in the right direction. And finally, let's talk about classic cars, because this year the only cars that got added were the Ayrton Senna and Alan Prost cars in the Legends Edition. I feel like it's probably time to move away from classic cars. I feel like all the classic cars that we've wanted to drive over the years are pretty much in the game, but they need to do it better. They either need to add in a full year worth of a full grid from a specific year worth of classic cars, because at the moment, when you try and race classic cars, you're either all racing in the same car because it's the fastest one, or you have the choice of all these other ones, but the field spread is too much so that you can't really get close racing. So you need, a full grid of 1992 cars, for example, in order for it to be competitive and fun. That's why F2 is so popular, because you have a whole grid of cars, you can choose different liveries, and you can have a close race. But classic cars, you can't get that. So we either need to move away from classic cars or do that. If we do move away from classic cars, I would love to see classic tracks included in the F1 game, whether it be at the start of the game or we bring it in via DLC a couple of months in and give us something to look forward to. Classic tracks, I feel like, is the extra content that I really feel like would get used in online and even in other game modes. Like, you could even, if you still want to do your bloody invitational events, take us to a classic track so at least we can drive that maybe. But even then, I at least want to do classic tracks in online. That'd really give us something else to think about and give us some, added variety compared to what we have at the moment. Classic tracks is amazing. F1 2013, bring it back. But there we go, guys. That has been my review of F1 2019. Not the most concise or well put together review, but it's really just me having a big ramble, to be honest. And I hope that I've covered, all of the topics that you guys wanted me to discuss. If there are any others, put them down in the comments, thumbs up ones that you want to see. I will do a video talking about F1 2020, and we'll go more in depth as to what can be added in the future to make the F1 games even better. I did touch upon some of those today, but we will go into those in more detail in an F1 2020 video. So if this is your first time watching my channel, please leave a like, but more importantly, subscribe to keep up to date with all of my F1 gaming content. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, I will say as a final, advice, as a final review of the game, it's the best game that Codemasters have ever made. Hand on heart, it definitely is. It's better than F1 2010. It's the most feature-packed game that we've got. They have riddled down a lot of the bugs that were, previously in the F1 games. Of course, there are still things that they need to work on. In career mode with the AI and the rebalancing, and even stuff like when you fast forward in qualifying, they need to do away with that time simulation glitch. But yeah, I'm rambling now, but overall, this is the best F1 game the Codemasters have ever made, and if you are on the fence about whether to buy this game or not, I would 100% recommend it, because all of the positives outweigh some of the small negatives that are in this game. You will enjoy it. But, okay, someone's going to ask me to rate it out of 10. I'll give it like a 9 out of 10. I don't like rating things, but I'll give it a 9 out of 10. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys for a brand new video very soon.